And we are, huh? Good morning, Wednesday, May 6th, 2026, here in House Transportation. We are spending the morning here with some citizens, which doesn't, believe it or not, happen all that often in this building, but that's neither here nor there. I just got my tour of where the Newport Bike Path / BB Spur Trail actually is. I have to say I haven't actually been there. I'm not sure how many members of the committee have, but we do know there's a rail trail manager for the agency, and there's multiple other trails, but we have this particular 4 mile spur that we are here to learn a whole lot more about this morning. So thank you very much for joining us, whether it's online. I know you have five or six witnesses for this morning. Chet, is that you're going first, or is Terry going first? You guys going together?
I'll go first.
Welcome. Good morning.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
And then as far as once you start, identify yourself and then fire away. And then usually this group has lots of questions, and we'll interrupt as you go for questions, or if you want to wait till the end, we could do that too, but we're not very good at that.
Thank you, Chairman Walker and the committee, for inviting us to give our side of the story on BB Spur. My name is Chet Greenwood. I'm a Derby resident and almost a Vermont native. I've lived there for 76 years. Mine's 10. I lived in Massachusetts. And I own property on the BB Spur, and I've owned it for 56 years. I've lived on the spur for 30 years full time, since 1992. And Exhibit 1 and 2, this is the letter. And back when this was planned, we had a public meeting in Derby when Vermont first took over the rail trail. And this was the first one of the 4, is BB Spur. And we had public meetings, and AOT met with, they come up and they're unanimous. Everybody liked the bike spur, unanimous, no snow machines on the bike spur. And AOT even met with City of Newport and Town of Derby. And Exhibit 1 is a letter from Assistant Attorney General Scott Whitted to John Ewing, who was the environmental commissioner at the time, state of Vermont. And I want to read some excerpts from this letter. Quote, the surface will be rolled to compact it, and it will be graded to satisfactory for pedestrians and bicyclists. There will be signs to indicate that the following: motorized vehicles are not permitted anywhere on the path, and no motorized signs will be erected. AOT has made this commitment to the community. This is not an effort to avoid Act 250 jurisdiction by segmenting the project, end quote. And these signs have been up here, the next one. These signs have been up here for 25 years. You could see the signs. The sign with no snow machine mysteriously disappeared 2 years ago. But the other one, no motorized vehicle, they've been on that path for 25 years. And there hasn't been any active, no snow machines on the path for 25 years. And in fact, anybody that's bought property on the BB Spur in the last 25 years has bought it with the understanding that no motorized vehicles are allowed on the path. And conversely, the people that have asked members, and there's only 6 of them that I know of, they bought it with the understanding they couldn't use the path. And they got to them at vast trails by some other means, lots of times by the lake. And contrary to the testimony given by Attorney Dunleavy at your March meeting, when he said snowmobiles have always been allowed on the path, that's not true. And it's unlikely that AOT would make that promise, and 2 years later, when the path is done, they would allow snow machines. I mean, I don't think they would have made that change. That's a bait and switch. I don't think they want to go there. Anecdotally, VAST members, and we like VAST, we go on the people locally at VAST, they're nice members. But anecdotally, VAST is blaming us, the homeowners and the abutters, for all this activity and the increased activity in the last couple of years. But actually, it's VTrans has created the activity. Their website shows the 4 realtor trails, and including BB Spur, and they have a pictorial travel pictures where they show snow machines and skiers meeting on the path. Well, that's a 12-foot trail. Those are done at Memorial or the Zesquay Trail. None of those could possibly be done at BB Spur. You can see that. That's only 7 foot wide, that trail. And if a skier meets a snow machine on that path, the skier has to get off the path. So it's just, and this is flat. This is for the old timers like me or the young kids or the novice skiers. It's a flat trail. And if you don't have edges on your skis, you take a 1 foot off that trail, you can go down 8 or 10 feet in a lot of places. So that's a false argument that they're making. That V-Trans is the one that promotes it.
Got Representative McCoy and then Representative Wells.
It's a railroad.
It used to be a railroad.
Rail.
Well, it used to be a spur,
A spur.
not a rail line, a spur.
Okay, and do we know how wide a railroad bed normally is?
4 feet 8 inches.
4 feet 8.
That's the track width.
But I know they own a lot of property.
The right of way.
Terry, you gotta identify yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Terry Lucas.
Okay,
I was born and raised in Newport.
okay, so 4 feet 8 is where the rails of the train, of the train. But as far as the width of another trail, I don't know.
There tends
What's
to
the
be.
width of the La Jolla Valley Rail Trail?
We're gonna find out today. Representative Wells is up next and then Representative.
How many homeowners on that 4 mile stretch, Jack?
There's 132 that own property abutting the path, and another 85 that either have access to it or right away to it. So there's 205 people that own, and in the half mile on the north end, there's 0 homes. So there's 3.5 miles where you have all that property, very densely populated.
You said 85 access to the lake, you mean, or to?
No, to the bike path.
Okay.
Right.
So it's very, in fact, we had an instance this winter, somebody on Facebook, a snowmobiler complained they met a skier on the path and the skier would not get off the path. The snowmobile had to get off the path. He's complaining. A snowmobile cannot meet a skier here. You know, if you're walking, you meet, but if you're skiing, it's too close. And the only people that don't think that's dangerous is the guy on the 400-pound machine. You know, he's not concerned about hitting somebody.
Representative Casey, you're up.
There's 7 feet on there. I see maybe the one on the left, like show, that's wider than 7 feet,
Well,
and
this
the other
one got-
one's obviously wider than 7 feet.
The one on, this one over here is probably 8 feet. That's the north end. They put a top coating on this year. And the south end, they only did 7 feet. The north end, they did 8 feet. But there's no houses there. And that's a half-mile stretch to Canadian border.
This is actually.
In Pulteney, there's a rail trail, and it's probably more like this one. And I personally have met skiers and we just wave and they go around me. It has big drop-offs, deeper than that. Big
Oh,
drop-offs.
You'll see the drop-offs. That's not the drop.
Well, I see cross-country skiers all the time. I cross-country ski myself and I haven't had any problems on any trails, but I haven't been up there. It's probably a little out of my way, but
This is actually the nicest part of the trail. It's the widest and the flattest with the least amount of, we're talking like a 4 or 5 foot.
This one over here on the left.
On the right.
The one on the right that's only 7 feet.
I thought those were the same place.
They are the same place.
Okay.
The one on the left is probably 4 or 5 years ago when that snowmobile sign was up. The one on the right was taken about a week ago, maybe 10 days ago.
Gotcha.
After V-Trans put that new
Oh, okay.
stay mat on, it looks beautiful. But that is the widest, the nicest part of the spur. It's probably about 3/4 of a mile long.
Representative White, and then.
Yes.
Yeah, so just to confirm, the 2 photos we're looking at are the same location, just taken a couple years apart?
That's correct.
Okay. And I just want to make a comment. I mean, I think it was Jackie Casino from the Agency of Transportation who was testifying a couple months ago on the BB spur. And there's obviously some differences of opinion because she said there is no area on the BB spur where a snowmobile and a skier cannot fit side by side. Like there was not an issue from what I remember. I don't know if committee members,
She did say that.
yeah. And so, but you are saying that is not the case from your experience.
We have a petition that's signed by 810 users, skiers that will not use the path because it's dangerous when they meet. And these novice skiers have to get off the trail when the snow machine is coming.
We have another presentation right after this that I'm going to present that shows today what it looks like, and you'll be able to see where those big drop-offs are and how narrow it is. Where, in fact, we met with Jackie and some V-Trans folks yesterday on the trail, and I was with my golden retriever walking. It was at the place which is the highest precipices with the shortest shoulders on the track. I had to quickly get off to the side because we're talking this much before there's a 30-foot drop. I mean,
And that was just people.
that's just, well, there's a truck coming at me, right? There's a V-Trans truck, pickup
The
truck.
V-Trans truck.
Which is
on-
8 feet
on the
wide.
sphere. Okay,
And, there's, I mean, it's dangerous. Even with that, there's nowhere to get off
Okay.
at these particular spots. They're not everywhere, but maybe a mile to a mile and a half of the most densely populated is where the biggest precipices are.
Okay.
But we'll show you those
Okay.
pictures.
thank you.
And if the snow machine's going, 15 miles an hour, they can meet its speed. But there's what we see, the snowmobiles are going pretty fast on that. And you don't have advantage in many skiers on the flat surface.
Representative Casey.
Snowmobiles going between those pylons right
No,
there?
the middle one comes out.
Huh?
They take the middle one out in the winter.
They take all three out.
No, just middle.
Oh,
No.
even on Lindsay
Yeah.
Beach Road?
Yeah, just the
Oh,
middle one.
okay.
The other two are fixed. The middle one is not fixed. They take it up. But this is groomed by Men for Magog Trails. It's a nonprofit organization that has several hundred members, and they've got a trail network for the intermediate advanced, 16 miles of it. They're the ones that groom this path from day one. Bass doesn't groom it, has never groomed it. It's too narrow. The bridges are, we have 3 trestles there, 8 foot, 4 inches wide, and you can't get a 10-foot, groomer and an 8 foot hole. So they don't groom it. It was groomed by a nonprofit.
Nor do they have any
Volunteers.
intention to groom it, is my understanding. Nor do they have any intention to groom it.
No, they have no intention to. In fact, Bass doesn't even put it on their trail map.
Right.
V-Trans is the one who puts it on their trail map, and they said it's open for anybody. As extensions.
Representative Howard has a question for you.
Yeah, thanks for your testimony. So, you go up north, you hit the border, there's no vast trail continuation there. And you go down south, there's no real vast trail continuation. So and it's not on the vast map. I mean, so it's not like this is part of, the network or key to the network where you can go from one place to another, you can go all around the state. This is just sort of a dead end
Right.
for the vast trail. So I imagine people aren't like going on Sunday all day long and going on this trail to get somewhere.
This goes nowhere.
Well, there is the lake.
Yeah,
Part of it is they cross the lake to get the
Oh,
vast
okay.
trails onto the.
and there's another trail on the other side.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Lindsay Road will take you
Yeah.
across this 4 mile wide lake
Yeah.
that's 6 miles long.
yeah.
Go to the next figure maps.
Representative Wells, for you too.
Here's the vast map of, this is all of Orleans County and northern Essex County.
Yeah.
See that? And according to AI, Vast has 470 miles of trail in just Orleans County. And you take that lake, Great Bend from Magog, there's 25 square miles of usable space to do whatever you want on the lake. So look at the correspondence of the corresponding trackage between BB Spur and the little, and the vast network. We've only got 4 miles compared to 470 miles. And V-Trans is opening this up for all vast, and we want to shut down. Vast doesn't groom it. It's the only, as I said earlier, it's the only publicly groomed ski trail in all of Orleans County, probably all of Northeast Kingdom. The only, and the high school used to use it for their cross-country ski team, and even meets. They don't anymore. I don't know if it's because of,
And it's free.
and it's free. And it's groomed by a private organization. So
They just started doing this after 25 years. Time limit was. What was the alternate route around there? Jock Pooling said they actually could go up near follow his landline up to Pool and Farms. Was that their alternate before?
They used to have a trail and went up there. It used to be groomed by Memphremagog Trails. And then the snow machines used to use it, so they stopped grooming it. They closed the trail.
Okay.
Representative Court?
So is the 3.5 miles the entire yellow line? Or
Yes,
just that
yes.
part between them? Okay.
Yeah, and we can go to the next slide.
So
Yes.
do a lot of Canadian snowmobilers
No,
use
none.
this to get? Oh,
It doesn't connect.
oh, it does not.
No, it doesn't connect to Canada.
Okay.
So
But bicycle, I mean,
what that
cyclists,
number is that comes across there, Chad, I can't, there's some kind of trail number on that one that's in the middle of the spur. Is that the issue where that trail seems to start / end there? In the winter, they head out over the lake?
Across.
Losing road?
Yeah, they go out over the lake there then?
I'll get to that.
Parking lot there or something, they started there.
Okay, I'll get to that. See, this is the BB spur. The entire, and it's 3.8 miles long. You can see how close, and this is the vast network.
They come down.
It dead ends at the Canadian border. It isn't within 2 miles of any vast network. You come down, and this is a crossing coming across the lake. And it goes across a private right of way given to Vast, which is a year-to-year lease. And it crosses the BB Spur. It goes up about 400 yards on Lindsay Road, which is a town road. And it's got a blind curve. That's dangerous in itself. Then it connects with Vast right here. Then you get on the Vast Field. That's for all the traffic coming across the lake, both ways. Then the south end, that's Prouty Drive. It dead ends at Prouty Drive. Vast, to connect to this Vast over here, it's a 1/4 mile away. You gotta go across the city road or sidewalks, 2 roads, Prouty Drive and Union Street before you can get to Vast. So that really dead ends. That's not legal. The bike path now continues on, goes down through the bluffs and down Scott's Farm, down Prouty Beach, and all the way into Newport. And it's a perfect bike trail. And the bike trail, when you get to Canada, you have to go to the customs. That road goes all the way to customs to check in, then go back and you continue on.
In fact,
And a lot of Canadians use it in some.
and in the wintertime, people do ski down this far down through.
Yeah, it's, yeah. Or you can ski, yeah.
But it's got hills. The only thing that's flat is the BB Spur. The rest of the Prouty the Scott's Farm is very hilly.
Representative Couch is up and then Representative Burke.
So get back to it. I mean, the spur there really is no reason for vast travelers to go on there, except apparently what we've heard is that there's some landowner, people who own property and they get their machine, they come down the spur to get on the Vast Trail. I mean, do you have like data about how many snowmobiles go down it on a typical Sunday?
Well, I'll let Lynn talk to that later, but they use it all the time. And we have
Well,
people come.
today.
That's what sorry, yes.
There's half a dozen people who live along the, I'm sorry, I'm Lynn Rubley, native of Newport. I live on the spur. I live there year round. So there's about half a dozen homeowners abutting the trail who use it to come down and access the lake. And some of those aren't local, and on the weekends, they bring a group of friends up, so there might be, 6 to 12 snowmobiles, coming down and going off to bike visit.
So not just people cruising the trails, but more like landowners along there that use it to connect to the trail.
Right, and, this is the first year that they did use it. Prior to this, it wasn't allowed, they went on another back trail to connect.
Thank you.
That's Airbnbs that advertise, adds to the traffic.
And what did they do before this year when they were on the BB Spur? How did they get to the lake, to the rest of the Vast?
There's a couple of roads that go, from their homes that they can easily go on to connect to the trail, or they would take their trailer down the road. It's not that hard to get from where they are onto one of the trails.
So previously, they used to either haul their trailer up to the park, up to the lot to get onto the rail, or they went out onto the lake.
Correct.
Or ask the neighbors, so they could cross the neighbor's land. But they always found a way to
Through
get,
their lawn, you mean, or through the trail?
well, there's a lot of open field that
Can you show
people
what,
won't.
can you show what they did? Because you know this area better than I do. But how like Dave Converse would go across where Bob.
Yeah, the people, there's, out of the 230 people who live here, there's only 6 that have some. And they would ask, and most of them are right in here. And they would ask their neighbors, and they would get permission to go across, this neighbor and that neighbor, until they get to the vast trail. And this is fields up here, so one neighbor might own the whole field.
So they didn't come down the thing, they went east, you're saying, they
Yeah,
didn't come
yeah.
south.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
or most of them would go out on the ice. They go out on the ice and come down in this way.
Oh.
And the ice was 2 feet thick this year.
the new issue is in the group closer to that vast trail down there that are going up. But you're not saying they're going up and down the whole trail, they're going to and from that area to that.
Yeah, but it only takes one machine to run a straight little trip. But yeah, there's not a lot of that track, but they look at that, V-Trans website and it says it's open to snow machines and it's on the lake and people say, I want to try it out.
And clearly more owners could or could not use it. So Representative Burke?
Oh, well, maybe my question was answered, but it sounds like there are other options. And does the lake, probably the lake doesn't always freeze or?
Well, it's
Depends.
early and late.
Yeah. I think I don't have any more questions right now.
Although usually if the lake's not freezing, we're probably not getting a lot of snow and snowmobiling's not good.
Yeah, but,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's-
We'll try to hold back some of our questions for a little while to help you get through the presentation. I know you have a number of
I
witnesses.
don't have,
We'll try to,
all I'm saying is, what V-Trans has done is they took the 4 trails and they made, 3 years ago, they said, okay, I think they reorganized 3 years ago, Rails to Trail. So they took the 4 trails and then broad brush approach, okay, we're gonna make them all the same. Now you get four roads there, 3 major highways and a dirt road, that's what you get. There's 3 major highways and a dirt, with a dirt road. You can't, it's gonna cost millions to upgrade it to the same specs as the other 3. And show this picture here.
Well, I didn't know if you,
Okay,
I remember a few folks thought we didn't, nobody complained.
yeah,
We had a petition.
this is a petition we sent out. This petition, after it came out in the paper that BB Spur is gonna be open to snowmobile traffic. We didn't say that. Somebody picked it up from V-Trans. And it was good, but then everybody got announced.
I see that picture right there?
Yeah.
Sorry.
This picture is not BB Spur, but it's on V-Trans under BB Spur. That's one of the other trails. That's not, that, we don't have anything that wide of BB Spur. Now, this petition we sent out, and these are people that use it, the pedestrians and skiers that use it. And there's 811 signatures, and every county in Orleans, every town in Orleans County is represented there. And 75% of the signers are from the area, our area. So these are people who've been kind of kicked off, and they used to ski all the time. 800, that's a lot of signatures. That's all people from the area.
Any of you folks snowmobile? You snowmobile?
I have, but I don't know.
I
Yeah,
have before.
yeah. So so you probably never come up on a skier before on a snowmobile?
No,
I ski on the big wide, I mean, where there's no people, just snowmobilers.
Yeah, oh,
well, my point is that they're
there's
showing
plenty of room
that
on
as,
that one.
yeah, and that's not our trip, but they've got it on BB Spur.
But we, like I said, we got a rail trail down my way, and I don't know, we all get along just fine, so. If I had property along that trail and I wanted to go snowmobiling, I'd probably figure out a way, but I would definitely want to go that way.
Well, that's what they've done. But they, up until this year, they've always got on the lake or trail.
Well, the VAS doesn't, is got a, they really don't want you on the lake. People, go through the lake. So I know you don't care, I see that.
I mean, I've seen that there's hundreds of them out on the lake at any one time and on a weekend.
when there's plenty of ice.
Yeah.
Right. Wi-Fi is a little slow.
What else you got?
Can I just remind me, is the BB Spur owned by the state of Vermont?
Yes, it's part of the Rails for Trails.
Rails to
And
Trails.
it's a legitimate Rails for Trails.
Okay,
And before they said, they have to have motorized vehicles because of ADA.
Mhm.
And that ADA, we understand that. And we're not saying ADA compliant vehicles like scooters and wheelchairs can't be on it. And they also said that federal funds allows them snow. They don't mandate snow. They do allow snow.
okay.
We understand that.
Okay.
But the other point Terry was making earlier about, Jackie said she had no complaints. So there's 810 complaints there, plus the city of Newport and the town of Derby both have resolutions asking V-Trans not to allow snow machines on the bike path. It actually has an adverse effect to economic development and tourism. It's chasing the tourism away because all those people that ski on it used to come to Newport and they'd eat or whatever, shop, and now they don't come up there.
So I guess, if I, one more, so, I mean, I live in Pulteney and the D&H Rail Trail goes right through our community, 19 miles long, it's like the Castleton. But we call it a rail trail, we don't call it a bike trail.
This was the first one, and from day one, it's been a pedestrian bike path.
Okay,
Even when it started to go through Act 250, pedestrian bike path.
okay,
It's always been called that. It's never been called a trick. Even in Scott Woodard's letter, he mentioned path 7 times. Never mentioned strip. They had no intentions of putting stone shoes on BB Spur.
thank you.
Representative Case?
So this piece of this trail is state land, right? And so, and everybody in the state pays taxes, right? So they, technically, everybody in the state owns a little piece of that, right?
Well, it's like the other railroad. Yeah.
Okay.
They also own a piece of the road. Why don't we allow snowmobiles on the roads? I mean, I just as a
And
connect up.
They do go across the road. They do go down the sides of the road.
Can they go for a mile, like a half a mile or so?
Depends how bad you want to go ride.
it says on the V-Trans website that it's illegal to be on the highway.
Let's see
Lynn,
what else you got here.
I'd like to have Lynn come up here and
Don't want Terry to go over his back.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is the Wi-Fi really slow? I noticed all of a
Been
sudden.
very sketchy the last 2 days.
Oh, okay. I noticed pictures all of a sudden.
Like our community.
Right,
Okay, all right.
The lack of leadership.
so it's on, so it will show.
Get there.
Oh, good. All right. Okay. I can also bring up the PDF file. Maybe that's easier to bring the PDF file up instead of the live
The
doc.
other one seemed to be-
I'll.
So, yeah.
So we wanted to talk about the spur versus the main line. All of the Memorial, spur is just it's a smaller trail. It tends to look smaller. The tracks are the same size, but it looks smaller because vegetation isn't pulled back. So it looks like it's very narrow. And it tends to be hilly, lots of turns, and they don't have a lot of ballast, a lot of the rocks underneath the rails, the trails, the railroad tracks itself. They're primarily used for short distances, in this case, 3 or 4 miles to connect industries up, like, for a wooden mill or dairy farm or transport tourists. Sorry about that. Let me open up the PDF file. This is going to take forever, I think. It's gonna PDF file that I put. So, oops. No, showing? There you go, okay. So this is just quickly, that's a spur. You can see there's a lot more ballast. The tracks are the same size. Again, that's a main line, that's a spur. Main lines tend to be much straighter, much wider, usually 10 to 12 feet with another 1 to 2 foot borders. Our spur is about 7 feet wide with up to 2 feet on each side of the borders, but it typically runs about a foot. And we'll show you pictures and things of that as well. Of the 4 trails, the BB spur is just 8.8 miles long, 7 feet wide, 1 to 2 foot shoulders, which quickly taper off to the slope of the of what's on each side of it. The Lamoille, the Missisquoi, and the Delaware Hudson, those are main lines. They're 10 to 14 feet wide. They're meant for high speed, heavy trains, lots of vegetation. If the BB spur was 14 feet, 12 feet wide, there's nothing we could complain about. Absolutely nothing. Because they can coexist quite nicely, snowmobiles and people. It's the spur. The spur is very different. Today the spur stops at Prouty Drive, like Chet said. There is still track that hasn't been removed that's behind Columbia, Vermont Maple Products, and then there's a big overpass where there's a tunnel that goes through. Those still have tracks, but no one's ever taken those down if you wanted to connect things up. So there's no connection to downtown Newport. The topography of the spur is what's interesting. Because those shoulders are so narrow, on the west side, the lake side, the Magog side, that's where we see anywhere from 10 to 30 foot drops. And these are not just like rolling drops. These are 90-degree drops straight down to rocks. We have pictures of those. We'll show you those. On the east side, they're not as bad. There are 3 wetlands. The wetlands tend to be 5 to 10 foot drops into ponds and things like that. There are a couple of places that are 10 to 20 foot drops. We'll show you pictures of those, which are big crevices. Where if you're lucky enough, you hit a tree at 5 feet and you won't go any further. If you're not so lucky, you're going to be 20 feet drop. Even VAST in their best practices manuals talks about slopes of trails. Some of those slopes are going up the trails, but some of them are ones coming down. When you're going around a curve, when there's a big slope, they tell you should have big wide spanses so you can, as you're turning, you can see what's around those turns. We have turns on the spur where you can't see those things. And then they talk about slopes, the percent of the grade. Here, this is a vast document on best practices. Anything that's in the 40% or maybe 50% is all red. That 50% grade is a 37-degree slope. We have slopes that are in the 40-45% on the densest 2 miles of the spur. So this is the west side. Here we go. Are on the lake. This one's going south, this one's going north. That's Chet. You can see there's erosion happening here. The trail is here. We're about 1.5 feet. When there's snow there, you don't see these things that are pockets of almost like a sinkhole. Where if you're the skier trying to get off this, you go in this thing, you're going off to the side down here. And this is only, 7, 8 feet, something like that. It's not big, but it's a treacherous place. And this spur that's 7 feet wide. My God. Chet and I walk every day for 5 to 6 miles.
We do 700-800 miles a year, like only because he's going to die.
Again, this is the west side. This is the spur heading north. This is the spur heading south. This is, about a 10-foot drop. This is a 10 to 15-foot drop. And it's probably about a 35, 40, maybe 45 degree in some places drop. And this is kind of rolling, so it doesn't look too bad. But you don't have this. This is sloping very quickly. If you get off, there's snow here. You're a skier. You're probably or a snowmobiler. Yes, sorry.
Go ahead, okay. So if I'm a skier and I hear a snowmobile coming, less electric snowmobile, why wouldn't I go off to on the right-hand picture? Why wouldn't I scurry over to the left-hand side? Why is a skier, am I gonna go over to the right-hand side, the more dangerous side?
On this side?
No, on the other picture, yeah. Now look up there, I can see the metal right there. Why wouldn't you just scoot over there and I don't know,
It's a, it's
I
a,
mean, I don't know what kind of skiers you got up there, but I mean, I could see where the danger is, and I'd be moving away from it and letting the snowmobile go by.
So this is about a quarter to a half mile long area. It's not just this spot.
Look to the left.
Oh,
Left
here.
it-
Yeah.
Yeah, see how it's nice there? Well, it took a spot where a skier could scoot
It is
over there
nice there.
safely.
And it's
Okay.
even nice over here too.
But you all feel that you need to go over towards the steep side? That's what when a snowmobile comes, that's your instinct? Is to go over to the steep side?
you'd
My
freeze.
instinct is to go to the left where the grass is, where it's a meadow. I mean,
Well, I'll show
it's
you
easy,
some
you're
other,
trying to make a point, but you're really beating a dead horse.
well, I'll show you some other areas where there is nothing to go to on both sides. But you're right. If you could get to this quickly enough, you should.
Well,
Obviously.
here, I don't know.
Or the snowmobile can go here, we can go by that, one or the other.
Your colleague would like to.
Both.
The majority of the path has steep sides, either going to the lake or into wetlands. So there's very few spots where there is a bit more space. So I take your point, but the majority of it, there's steep sides.
In fact, this is the part where there's on both sides. So this is a 25, 30. Both of these are lakeside. And I'll show, the flip side of this is over here, and that's a 20-foot drop. We're not, there's nowhere, in fact, this is where I met Jack
Yesterday,
yesterday with my dog and Chet. Chet had to quickly try to get over here. I'm not going over here with my dog because if my dog goes down the side, I'm not going before this fence that someone, I think V-Trans put this up. And it's a 20-foot fence. It's good thing to have there because, I mean, it's a straight,
they put it in there because of erosion.
but there's nowhere to go here.
So what is that? Is that like, just like a viewing? Is that,
Oh, yeah, somebody,
That's a homeowner.
there's a homeowner on this side.
Put the platform up.
He put a platform on. I don't know the legality of it. I'm not arguing about that.
He's an architect, so he got it suspended this.
But somehow he stuck it onto the side.
He didn't put the
that's
fence
on the
up.
property? That looks
He
like
leases the property from the state.
It's all leased. Most of that property that he's showing you is leased from V-Trans. The state owns that, all that lakefront property for a good share of the bike path.
Okay, so all the houses are on the right side of this picture.
In fact, Jackie mentioned at the last hearing, there's 50 homeowners abutting BB Spur. Actually, there's 200, but I think the 50 she's talking about are leaseholders. There's 50 landowners that pay a lease across the bike path.
Across the road.
Because on the
lake
lake side, it's owned by state.
Okay.
That was all part of the right of way that they inherited or bought from the river.
And,
So this is like the nice part you saw in Chet's, which is the northern part of the beefy
Yeah.
spur. This is right next to Chet's house.
Yeah.
This is only a 10, 15-foot drop. It's a very nice drop. I mean, if you're gonna fall, this is really gonna fall. Right. This is a nice rolling kind of fall. But I mean, it's, both sides look like this. This is another one that's a little further north of where we were looking on the previous one, which is really precipice, high precipice. This is, it's had a lot of erosion. You can kind of see where they've been putting rocks in. Somebody came, I guess, 10 years ago, to pour rocks to stabilize that. So if you're falling here, you're falling onto, big rocks.
This here is right by my house, and about 10 years ago, there was 2 snow machines come up the path going north, and it was in a blizzard, they couldn't see. The first guy went over the bank, I heard him, somebody scream, so I was out plowing or mowing my yard. I went up there, and the first sled went over the hill, he turned it, when he landed, he broke his ski. The second guy jumped off his, and his rolled over, down on the upside, rolled over, broke his windshield. And I went over, because the guy was screaming, I went over, it's awful damn narrow snowmobile trail. I says, you're on a ski trail, not a snowmobile. Your vast trail is 70 yards up the road. They had to tow his machine out because he broke it. Brand new one.
And these are the rocks they've been putting up against the shore to protect more erosion. That you'll, at the bottom of these things, that's where those are. This is the east side, so the non-water side, the east side of the spur. This is the flip side of what we just saw where I said it was a nice place to fall, and Chet said he saw a couple
Well,
of,
this is where he fell, yeah.
nice snowmobiles that have fallen off. This is that other side of where I showed you the 30-foot drops. That's the flip side of that 30-foot drop. You've got a foot and then you're going down to here, which is about 10 feet if you're lucky to get that tree, or you're down 20 feet at the bottom of this crevice. There's nowhere to go. This is the wetland, one of the wetlands. There's 3 wetlands on this. This is 7 feet wide. It tapers out to the 8 feet or 8 feet 4 inches to the trestle. And you've got a 8 to 10 foot drop on each side of these wetlands. I mean, you're gonna fall into the water, or 5 feet, 2 to 5 feet of water. There are some sharp turns. You can see that there are, if you're coming fast down these things, you're not going to see what's in front of you. Even the best practices said these things should be wider. I'm not a road guy, but I don't know how you make it wider. You've got these things which are collecting water coming down from the hills, so it doesn't wash out the path. And I don't know how you fix it. Maybe V-Trans knows how you fix it.
It's in March. There's somebody went by my house, wide open. I have a house sitting. She said it went by 100 miles. It was wide open, and it was just at dusk, and there's still skiers out there at dusk. And he went this way north.
I wish
Wide open.
if our spur looked like this, there'd be no complaints, right? We can go here. There's 4 feet on each side. There's nothing. I mean, little gullies. That's nothing. That isn't the problem. Even the Rail Trails Conservatory, the RTC, which is a nonprofit thing that the government, USDA, and a few other things give money to. In the Association of State Highway Transportation Officials, they recommend minimum 10 feet for multi-use trails, but at minimum they recommend 12 to 14, which is what all the other 3 rail trails. That's what they are. We're not even close to that.
Main difference being where it's spur or side traffic versus a main line.
That's correct.
Okay, Representative Patton?
I've ridden the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail quite a bit. There are sections in there where it drops off. So that's not unusual for rail trails. There are sections where they go through farm fields too. But by going from St. Jay up to Danville, there's some steep drop offs. I mean, you look and you go, holy mackerel. So it's not uncommon.
How wide is it though? It's probably that's
Just-
14 feet.
I don't think the rail is that wide necessarily. Certainly two bikes could pass.
And then just as a note, the only spur that I've been able to find that's like ours is the Belmont spur in New Hampshire. It's in Belmont, New Hampshire, kind of midway between Concord and Plymouth. And it's close to snowmobiles because it's only 8 feet wide. Just like our trestles are 8 feet wide, this bridge is 8 feet wide. It's close.
Representative?
How long is this?
It's like 3 point something. It's less than 4 miles.
So very similar.
Okay, I just want to make a comment that the Delaware Hudson is,
And this is run by the New Hampshire Rail Trail Coalition
just a comment that the Delaware Hudson is 8 to 10 feet wide.
with a 2 foot shoulders on each side, 1 to 2 feet.
And there are ramp ups. That's.
Yeah, and a lot of the spur, even the BB spur is 2 feet, like you saw in the northern part where the sign was removed, and it's 8 feet wide, 2 feet, and it's low. That's a really safe spot. It's the parts that aren't, which is where they want to drive the snowmobile. This is just a safety thing we looked at with kinetic energy. You get a person with a snowmobile, it's a serious problem, obviously. Sorry.
How many people have been hit on snowmobiles on that trail?
Well, this is the first year.
His first year of venue.
But they've never used it before. Nobody ever went over and used the trail.
Well, they
Yeah,
crossed it.
a lot of people use it, they get lost. I mean, not a lot, but a few, they come off the lake, they can't see where the exit ramp is to cross the BB spur. So they go across private property and get on the spur and run it. So they have been on it, yes.
They're not complaining.
The only accident I know of is the one that rolled it over, but they didn't hit it.
Prior to this year, they would be breaking the rules, et cetera. They would be not, it would be an issue. But now it's allowed, whereas before it was not allowed, so.
So if somebody who wasn't from the area bought a house and
I don't want to say they were breaking the law, but they were certainly they were definitely out of the, now it's a different scenario.
But it's still enforcement anyway.
I don't know how you would enforce it other than signage saying.
Well, I guess I do have to interject there. If it were a VAST related trail, which it's not, but a VAST has a pretty significant budget for enforcement and targets enforcement of their riders in order to not antagonize homeowners. I mean, they're very aggressive about that. So I agree that, or I'd probably say I would not know about enforcement on a non-VAST trail, but we have heard huge testimony on a VAST trail. They are pretty heavy on the enforcement. But that's two different things. I just want to be clear as far as if that was understood that VAST has a significant enforcement.
I didn't realize they
So they have a contract to the, I don't remember exactly how much, but it's in the tens of thousands, if not $100,000 a year they're spending on the get fish and game, the state police, the sheriffs. They have but this is not in the VAST network, nor are they proposing to add it to the VAST network. So that won't necessarily help, I get it, but they might help, a little bit, but if we were to ask, but I'm just saying, I do want you to be aware, in the VAST network, they have an entire system because they can't risk their homeowners that are allowing them to use the properties to not be protected. So Representative McCoy.
What are these numbers in these buffers?
So this is when I look at the GIS data of property and base taxes,
Mhm.
Density, population density.
Okay, so
So this is
37 homes
yeah,
in yellow bubble.
That's correct.
In
1,000 feet.
1,000 feet.
123 homes are adjacent to it. The other 82 are within 1,000 feet of this road.
Okay,
And, the density, if you take the miles divided by the total homes, it's basically, in this short little area,
so there's 123 total homes. All those bubbles add up to 123.
all those bubbles add up to 100, 205.
Yeah.
Oh,
I counted both as
Okay.
butters and adjacent.
Okay.
Close to it.
Okay, same with this one.
Same with this one.
Okay,
And, we're just denser than anybody. I mean, part of it's a little more, a main line tends to go with the main, where the roads are, like Route 5. You don't see a lot of houses, right, through the fast parts of Route 5. Like I said, if we were a main rail, that 12 feet wide, 14, there's nothing to complain about. There really isn't, but we're not.
thank you.
Representative Casey.
Do you have any slides that shows a tape measure going across the?
We just measured it this morning, but yesterday we didn't take a picture of it. I figured you'd believe us.
Like, oh, to be honest with you, I don't. I'm a carpenter and I know how long things are, and I don't, to be honest with you, some of your measurements, I'd like to double check myself.
I can certainly take it again and send you a picture.
We have a picture, Lynn had a picture, she took a stone, ski pole.
I have a bunch of pictures I took this winter out there with my steeples and
We might.
measuring
Well,
to
I
check.
did want to say something about VAST. I have nothing against VAST. They bring a lot of money into this state. We need them. In fact, my next door neighbor gives them access to the state, to the from Lindsay Road to the lake. There's a lot more snowmobiles that go through there. I'll see 10 to 20 at a time. I might hear them. They don't bother me. They just don't bother me. It's a safety issue. That's all it is a safety issue. I have nothing against them.
My perception, I guess, is this is not a VAST related issue. Like VAST is not looking for this trail or adding it, or I think I'm saying I don't think they have anything really to do with it, I guess is my, on that part of it.
Other than V-Trans saying snowmobiles are allowed.
But VAST is not interested in advertising or in
They don't.
being involved at all.
And it's not on the only thing that VAST gets involved with, and we like the VAST guys that we deal with, they're the ones that have to get the right of way across off the lake and across Beebe Spur to connect with them. And that they have to get that lease every year. If they lost that lease, there wouldn't be any access across the lake, except in downtown Newport. I don't think anybody wants that, but they have to talk to parents to get that lease. And Palin's asked us,
And they go fast on the lake in front of me. It doesn't bother me. You know, that we got, it's a, 4 mile like 6 miles long. They can go there 80, I don't care. It doesn't bother me. There's not me. They hit themselves, that's a problem, but it doesn't affect the people that use that spur.
I'm feeling that I'm saying Vass is not causing this issue. If Vass is not taking a stance on this issue.
Other than they
Not
have
at
a
all.
few members who wanted access to the spur. That was the
You're
issue.
not speaking on behalf of the organization.
No.
Yes. I just want to be very clear about that. It had nothing to do with it. Representative White?
Yeah, thank you both for your testimony. I appreciate it. And I have a couple questions and then a comment. So looking back at notes from when Jackie Casino was in to testify back in March, and she spoke of the BB spur in the context of Vermont Rail Trails, and that the BB spur in particular was taken over from the Canadian Pacific Railroad. It's overseen by the state. Some improvements were made with federal highway funds, which had some strings attached. AOT is responsible for the maintenance of trails, but you're saying AOT does not maintain the BB trail?
They've done a nice job.
Okay, so they do, they just
put
don't
stain
groom
on
it.
they
So they've done,
don't, they maintain it.
so they've done, okay, because it sounds like there's some discrepancy here between AOT is maintaining it and kind of the use, because you showed us a letter back in the 90s where it looked pretty clear that there was agreement from the state that this trail would not be used by motorized vehicles.
Yes.
And within the last year,
3 years.
2 years, that has changed. Has there been any formal, because that's a formal letter.
No one ever talked to us about it. We
Okay,
just
so
found out.
that just changed in AOT within the last couple of years.
There was no public hearing. They didn't contact any homeowner, a butter. They didn't contact Town of Derby or the City of Newport. And they just did.
Okay,
They just changed it
okay,
and made a broad brush.
okay. So that seems like a concern. I'm concerned about that because that doesn't seem like there's good communication or something happened there. I'm not quite sure. The other thing that Jackie mentioned was that when there are issues on trails, that there's a board or something, people can go with concerns to talk to her or her group about uses of the trails. And has that been, have you all done that with
No.
Jackie? Has there?
Well, we've talked to Jack and got different meetings with her.
Recently, in the last couple of weeks. Before then, we weren't allowed.
No, we weren't allowed because we had no standing. Yeah, we had no standing.
There was a meeting
But-
between Metro Magog Trails, Bass, and V-Train.
That's called the council, the BB Spur Council. It includes Bob Primo, who's the head of the nonprofit group, Magog Trails.
The one that's grooming the trails?
Yeah, the one that's
Okay.
grooming the trails.
Uh-huh.
And two AOT employees and two VAS members and Jackie. That's no homeowners.
So no homeowners were invited
No.
to that meeting?
No,
or
I asked if I could get in and I never got an answer back. So there's no homeowners on it, and that's their council. And Bob Primo, being on that council, was unaware that they were going to allow snow machines on bike. He didn't even know about
Okay,
it. So they didn't even advise the councilman.
He was the first one to tell us about it
Yeah.
in November of last year.
Yes, he knows that.
We had no
Okay,
idea.
so that system is not working the way it
Right.
has been proposed. And it's not satisfying your concerns. Okay, I'm
We
hearing that.
did
Okay.
talk to Jackie during a rural
It
meeting.
was, NVDA is a party to that plan. They do Northeast Vermont Development. They're a party to the Northeast Kingdom Plan. And we had a conference call with Doug Morton, who works for NVDA. He's an outreach coordinator. And we had a Zoom meeting months ago. We're getting another one coming up. And Jackie was on that.
Okay,
It was more of a venting of us. Why haven't you talked to us? Nothing, you wouldn't let it. And then,
Because nobody ever talked to us.
but she's done a great job maintaining that. I have nothing against that.
right.
Nothing at all against it.
Okay, okay. And I think you've made in my mind, a believable case that there is a safety issue here. Given the narrowness of the spur. so that you're seeing that skiers and snowmobile riders can really not coexist safely.
In many spots,
On a
especially those
spur.
areas that where the snowmobilers want to be to get to the down the spur to the DB to the crossing.
We should let Phil give some testimony.
Thank you.
And this is just Chet had an interesting thing. He looks at the four rail trails. The main lines are like highways. You know, we're this little dirt road that's kind of like, you know, that just, you know, you can't
But
put.
all the rules and restrictions apply equally.
I guess
to the four
that's it.
trails.
Representative Burke has a question for you.
Yeah, but following up on Representative White's question, so you have no indication of what the internal conversations were at V-Trans? What were their, what was their process? You know, I mean, it was obviously didn't involve you, but did they ever say why they did this? Was it just because of ADA issues?
She actually mentioned a lack of communication, that's all she said. You know, nobody, I lived there, I took 35 years, nobody's ever contacted me from State Farm, ever,
I mean,
since 1998.
the most we ever heard was when Jackie gave testimony here and I forget the lawyer that was here.
Yeah, John Dunlop.
When he talked about ADA and equity and things like that. And that's the first time we'd ever heard anybody tell us.
They
what they were
were
thinking.
like conveying to you, well, we're gonna make this change because we need to satisfy ADA, or we need to, or we want to, or whatever. Okay.
Or even the town select boards, they weren't aware of it, neither
Yeah.
Newport or Derby were aware of it.
Yeah.
So this spur is rail banked, that's the term
Yes,
for,
yes.
yeah, and I think we had some testimony that talked about, you know, that ties in the federal government, that you can't change it, and that they also have rules of what it can be used for, what limitations on how you can restrict it. And I believe we were told that saying you couldn't use the snow machine was a limitation that goes against the federal government rail trail, the rail bank rules and regulations.
So you said that snow machines should be allowed?
Yes.
They could be allowed. Nowhere does it say they should be.
Aren't there exceptions? I thought the lawyer
John Dunlop.
mentioned that there were exceptions. I don't know what it requires to get those exceptions. I would think safety would be an exception, but
You would think, but I mean, that's a piece of it too.
it would be nice to know instead of just by edict, if this is it, and we didn't even know it was coming.
This, if that was the case, that one in New Hampshire wouldn't have been closed. And that was a spur.
Depending on
I have a friend in-
funded
I don't
how it
know if
was.
it's a rail bank.
Funded by federal dollars.
That's right, whether it's rail bank
And I-
or not.
I do understand that the formation of the rail trail under the agency has been, what has only been a few, 3 years now, and they certainly, this is the last of it started all the way through the Memorial, Missisquoi, the Hudson, this is the fourth and the end of their run of trying to really understand what they have and where they're at, so I'm gathering that, you know, may not have gone well at the end, but I believe from the testimony we heard, the understanding is this was what they've done everywhere else, and I can sort of just, those steps sort of just happened, may not have been the best way for sure, but they're moving in the direction of the same, supposedly understanding the same rules of what they manage the other ones, so.
Yeah.
But either way, we're through the winter and we're here and we'll see where.
They could make a
we're
beautiful
here.
classic ski center there and work with and Montreal Trails and the city of Newport and make a nice trail. When did,
Representative Case?
Once again, it's, everybody owns it, not just you people that border up against it. Everybody owns that rail trail.
810 people.
Well, I don't think
petition.
really just a few people can sit there and decide to make a ski center on something that everybody in the state owns.
Yeah, the 810 people signed a petition. The city of Newport signed a resolution.
I didn't sign it down my way. Everybody owns it, right? So
Yeah.
everybody should have a right to sign that petition.
Well, they can.
Would there ever be
Yeah.
a safety issue case where you would where you'd be concerned about snowmobiles and?
Yeah, I don't think snowmobilers need to be riding out on the lake. That's what I don't like. I've seen the situation where people go across Champlain, they drown. They don't need to, in the beginning of the snowmobile season, it's definitely not a place where you want a snowmobile out on the ice. Those people that live along there, the few snowmobilers that they are, should have a right to move their snowmobiles and not sit there and have to trailer them and politely go by you folks when you're cross country skiing. I do both. And I get along, usually it's just a wave. And I've been through tight little areas. Not everything's perfect and pristine and 20 feet wide.
So it's interesting because the people who want access to the spur, it's all because they want access. They said they don't want to go across the lake except for this one area. That's what they want, because it doesn't connect to any.
You guys ever ski on the lake?
I go all the time.
Huh? Why not?
Because it's not room.
We have somebody
And
that's
it's the-
on the team. I'd
Let's,
like to give testimony.
I don't know if you're up next or.
Did we talk about Phil?
Oh, yeah, Phil. Do you want to unshare me or do you want me to unshare myself here?
Phil's been waiting on Zoom.
Yeah, hi. This is Phil White. I'm sorry about my lack of picture, but I hope Terry will come by my house and fix it. My issue is that this was not open to snowmobiles, and as a result of that, Memphremagog Trails, which started 25 years ago, started voluntarily grooming the BB Spur to allow public access for free on a groomed ski touring trail in the wintertime. Now, the grooming has a very specific value, is that there is a side that tracks for diagonal cross-country skiing, the old school skiing, and that there's a 4-foot wide corduroy that's perfect for skate skiing. And that's the kind of competitive skiing that you see now. So what we're seeing is that for 25 years, skate skiers have had groomed trails that serve the general public, and there have been no snowmobiles affecting that track. Now, after a snowstorm, the trail is groomed, and we can have 4 or 5 snowmobiles coming from the north, from the Johns River area, and destroy that portion of the track that's used for skate skiing. Now, a lot of rail trails are groomed by VAST, and cross-country skiers will typically use those trails for diagonal skiing, but they're not really usable for skate skiing, except under rare circumstances. So I have spent the last 2 decades of my life trying to build a recreational asset here in Orleans County. It's called Kingdom Games, and we host running, biking, and swimming events. And I've worked very, very closely with the city of Newport, which is adopting the recreational tourism as an economic driver for this area. And I know how hard it is to build what Memphremagog Trails has done. And I think that I'm very supportive of VAST and the 470 miles of network that they have in Orleans County. They're valuable for the community, and they're valuable for tourism. But I'm also value Memphremagog Trails, and it's 18 miles of groomed trails, and it's an asset to our community to have that here. And I think both of them can exist without adversely impacting either one of them. This is driven by a handful of people, not the general vast public. So I'm hopeful that you'll look at it in that perspective, that this really is not suitable for shared use. It's not necessary for the vast network to be successful. It is necessary for Memphremagog trails to continue to have 18 miles of broom trails. That's really all I have.
Representative Keezer and Representative Wells.
Thanks very much. And it must have been quite a,
It's not convincing. It's
No,
fine.
I'm
No.
just gonna say so.
it might have been quite a shock to you to see something that had been 25 years and all of a sudden things change. And I was a recipient of that. I own property on the trail down in Polteny. And so, but that's neither here nor there. I think a lot of this is off to the side, all these wonderful things that you've done and tried to maintain and enjoy all these years is really, is not, isn't going to, presenting that is not going to affect the situation. Have you researched how to remove the spur from rail banking?
Boy, I've talked to a few folks about it.
So good.
It-
Okay, that's
it's
a good process because that's the way to get it done. That's the way to get you to satisfy yourself. And given all the effort that you have put in, rail banking is a way to do it. There are two ways to do it. And so one way to do it is and it all has to go to the federal government. But one way to do it is to have, as I read here, once the corridor spur, you can, let's see, it's not abandoned. There's two legal ways. One is that you have the railroad or successor, which is Vermont, and the trail manager must agree and then apply to the federal government to have it done. You haven't tried to do that.
No.
So I'm going to suggest to you that there is much more to do. And I think that I would encourage you to do that. And I would support your efforts from the Transportation Committee to go with the state and to encourage the unbanking of this particular spur. And that's the permanent resolution of this problem, in my opinion.
How would it work where there's huge wetlands? You would need-
I don't know these things, but there are two avenues in which to unbank this property, and that would solve the problem.
$10 million later.
Can I say something on that? My read of the federal law is that snowmobiles may be allowed if the state or local government approve that. And that, I think, is what the federal law says in statute. I don't know about the regulations, but that's why the legislature several years ago specifically allowed snowmobiles for the other rail trails,
They're bringing money.
and this one as well.
They were spending.
And that's why it's allowed. So that,
Yeah, I am wondering if the rail trails in Vermont, the ones that are rail banked, fall under regulation under the Surface Transportation Act, the Federal Surface Transportation Act. And if so, as someone who represents Shelburne, I would offer you a cautionary tale. We tried several years ago to fight a salt shed in our town and spent $500,000 on, very foolishly, in retrospect, on trying to fight the feds. So that's just something to, whatever you decide to
do going forward and you're exploring what is possible to just know about. I'm sure you can, it's easy to find all the information on that in, Digger, 7 days, et cetera.
Ideally, it would be best to work with V-Trans and AOT about something that can be either slowed down or until we can understand. I mean, just throw something out there and
Right,
it doesn't work.
That seems like a very, reasonable pathway to pursue. You said that the RPC was kind of facilitating conversations with Jackie.
It was the first time, we just had a meeting about the BB spur. And, your first meeting, everybody's pretty, we were all upset. So it was not it was a meeting just to vent, I think, more than anything.
Yeah.
And then it all toned down and but you just can't flip a switch and say snowmobiles now. And, nothing is even looked at or thought about. That's at the end of the day, that's the issue, right?
Right. Well,
Or expanding VAST up there to get better trails for people they need better trails, work with the people around there about doing.
Right. So it seems like some kind of a mediated conversation about potential alternatives might be a good starting point. Also, whether or not, given the perceived concerns about safety, it's possible to allow snowmobiles through on the trail, but at a reduced speed or something like that. So, there seems like there's some things that might just be within reach,
Since you're the snowmobile expert compared to me, I've only driven them a few times, but they're fun. My understanding is it's hard to go slow and allow these snowmobiles. They're meant to kind of ratchet up fast. Is it hard to keep it at 15?
Four-cylinder, 150 horse, and I can putt right along easily with it. Got forever to lead up.
Yeah.
Representative Wells and then Representative White.
Thank you. First of all, I'm disappointed that Phil doesn't have a picture because he's a dead ringer for David Letterman. Phil, you and I talked about one particular person on that trail has a bread and breakfast. He's from Massachusetts, but he's going to sell his property. He sounded like he's doing a lot of the damage. When he moves on, will this alleviate half of your problem, or what do you think?
No, he's advertising as having access to the vast trail. So he's looking to sell to somebody who wants to use the BB spur.
They'll want to continue that. And just a note on level of ice. I have a huge event there every year, 120 pickups parked on it. From December 15th to 20th until early March, anybody can drive across that lake at any time. It's not full of holes. It's not dangerous. We do it all the time. That is a non-factor. They can take that lake anytime. If I can hold 120 pickups, and I did laugh about his talk about speed because some of these guys go 148 miles an hour. That is an option.
Yeah.
Thank you, Phil.
Yeah, thank you, Ken.
Representative White.
I just, again, I appreciate your testimony and I think that, my feeling is there are enough concerns that you've brought to light that I personally would like to invite Jackie and, perhaps someone else from AOT back in to revisit this, because I feel like this testimony has brought up some issues that counter some of what we were, what was shared with us back in March. And so I'd like to dig in a little further before we give you lots of different suggestions on which route you might want to go on. I think it makes a lot of sense to go to AOT first.
Thank you.
Can I say one last thing?
We're gonna go to, I guess Phil's got something to say, and then we're gonna go either to Walter or to. What's that, Phil?
I just wanted to say that this is the only rail trail that has a ski touring foundation presence on it with grooming. unlike the others, unlike Lamoille, unlike Missisquoi, unlike any other, there's actually an active cross-country ski center that's grooming this trail and has done it for 25 years. And I think that distinguishes it, in addition to the safety issues, from some of the other rail trails. So I just wanted to say that.
Representative Case.
So the ski touring center owns it now?
No,
It sounds
There's
like you're laying a little
citizens-
claims on it.
there's citizens who have voluntarily groomed it for 25 years. They're out there at 6 o'clock in the morning grooming it. And I'm having my coffee, watching my doctor go by, grooming it at 6 o'clock in the morning.
They work with,
V-Trans has asked to do that.
they work together, they partner that.
But it's so in lieu of, you guys lay claims to it. It kind of sounds like you guys been working to make this ski touring center, the words that he used. I mean, it's a piece of Vermont state property.
But that's what it was designed for. That's how it was built. It was built that way.
State property, though, just saying.
Well, yeah.
Well, it's a spur for Carnival a whole long time ago. That wasn't built for ski. Let's switch up. Representative White, you can add while we're switching.
Yeah, I just want to comment, that, I think this committee, we know that transportation takes many forms in the state, not just cars or snowmobiles, but bicycles and pedestrians and skiers. And these are all, valued forms of transportation in our state. So, and I think there's an argument that snowmobiles aren't any more important than skiers, aren't any more important than cars. So we have to consider all the different modes of transportation in our state that are valued. Want to put that out there.
And so my name is Lynn Rubley. I was born and raised in Newport, moved back to the area about 12 years ago. I live adjacent to the bike path. And it has been a cherished resource for everyone who lives there, everyone who comes to visits, and whether they're biking or skiing or walking. But the fact that it has been non-motorized is really important, to a lot of us who are out there, whether we're running cross-country skiing or walking our dog. It's quiet. Everybody can access it because it's flat. And we don't have a lot of resources in the area, for outdoor recreation. So this bike path has really been vital, whether it's in the summer or whether it's in the winter, and I do live there all year round, as an outdoor pedestrian path. And I have nothing against snowmobiles, but, the safety factor is definitely a concern for me. Where I live is where there's a drop off on the, not on the lakeside, but the other side, down to a brook. Someone on their bicycle pulled over there one time to take a picture. I measured it yesterday. It's barely 10 inches, and it slopes like this and then goes straight down. They fell down and they broke their shoulder. So I'm aware that these accidents can happen. I've been out there cross-country skiing when snowmobiles have come. I've moved over, but it's not, for those of us who use it regularly on foot, we were all shocked. And when I say we, I'm talking about the whole community, not just the people that live there, all the people that signed the petition. We had council meetings in Newport and in Derby, and the majority of the people who actively use the trail on foot were like, snowmobiles don't make sense here. And the fact that there's only a small group who want to use it, the rest of snowmobiles don't. I mean, why can't we have these less than 4 miles for pedestrians when snowmobiles have 450 in the counties?
This person that broke their shoulder.
Hmm.
Why did they, so it's not a snowmobile that shoved them off.
No, but I'm just saying that the places where it's so narrow, and drops off, it's easy to step off and,
Big difference.
A snowmobiler had nothing to do with it.
There's a
no,
rule
a
somewhere.
snowmobile did
Okay.
not have anything to do with that. It was in the summertime, the guy was on a bike. But it's an indication that it can happen.
I can guarantee you won't see snowmobilers on there during the summer.
No, but it's even more likely to happen in the winter because when everything's all white and the snow's piled up, you can't see it that way. Anyways, so it's been such a cherished place for people on foot. And like I say, whether they're out there walking their dog, but we're out there getting our fresh air and exercise. And to have motorized vehicle just changes the character of what has been a really important community resource for over 25 years. And I was thinking, I lived in Burlington for a long time. I walked and biked and skied the path there. And I thought, I don't think anybody in Burlington would be thinking about having snowmobiles on that trail for the same reason that it's used heavily by pedestrians and is in a residential area. So it's just not compatible with what's already there and what has been there and what people love and appreciate about being there and being able to use that path. So that's my 2 cents.
Representative Wells?
Would there be any chance that everybody could get along if that path was widened to 14 feet, the whole length of it? Would that
That's a
cure
good,
everybody?
I think that's a good question. I think that's a good question because I think, like myself, and I have nothing against snowmobiles, they're a lot of fun, but I was out there one day and skiing and when the snowmobiles passed me, and I'm sorry, but I'm there to get my fresh air and exercise, and the stench from the fumes nearly blew me off the trail. So that's part of it. So I don't know. And part of it is tranquility, that's there. I mean, people are out there, we have wetlands, people are out there for the birds. And, you have a motorized vehicle coming by and sorry, it's not the same. And whether, we're there for the quiet. And that's important.
I'll make a comment on that, bringing it up to 12 foot wide. The only way you could widen that is to dig it down about 2 feet. And then you're gonna have a roller coaster, because you got 3 main highways abutting it, you got 3 or 4 private driveways, and you got 3 trestles, and you got 3 wetlands. So it'd be a roller coaster, but the only way, you can't possibly put more fill in, you'd have to take fill out. And because it goes like this, if you took 2 feet off the top, you could get maybe 10 feet wide.
I don't know what you do about erosion near the lakeside
Yeah,
or the wetlands.
yeah. It costs millions of dollars to do that.
I can't get 150 miles of roads plowed. Sure, I'm not. Anyway. Was that your?
I mean, I just, like I say, no one was informed, the whole community, was in shock when this occurred. And, we don't have a lot of other options, the fact that it's free, that it's groomed for cross-country skiing is really important to a lot of people. And whether it's cross-country skiing or snowshoeing, it's a prime recreation for a lot of families, older people who live in the community.
I think the other issue we have too is, we got this letter in 1997 that said no motorized vehicles, then 2023, I guess, or snowmobiles comes up. When's ATVs going to be next on this? I mean, that's the worry, right?
We hear that every year. Property, what the rules are not, should not be about ATVs and why you can or can't use them. But that issue comes up statewide, so.
And there, and I hear snowmobilers saying, oh, we can be comfortable, we can pass. But there are enough people who live in the community, who don't want to take the risk, who feel that it's not safe enough, that it's too narrow, it's not long enough, it doesn't go anywhere, So why does this need to be why does this need to be open to snowmobiles?
Representative Case?
Because everybody owns it.
Well, and anybody can use it,
That's right,
Anybody can
including the
use it.
snowmobilers.
but it doesn't have to be on a snowmobile. It can be on so many other things that are not motorized.
Well,
Well, you've had your spot.
So Lynn was there all winter. Did you see reduction in people using the
Yes, yeah.
ski?
I know people personally told me they didn't feel safe. One good friend who had her hip recently replaced, who was an active skier, but she didn't want to go in there. She didn't want to take the risk. Some people with smaller kids, they didn't want to be out there. So yes, there was definitely a reduction. And, the snowmobiles, I mean, they do go by at a fast speed. And it just doesn't feel like it's necessary or really brings anything to the community. Rather, it detracts from what we have that is precious.
that's one more thing. Do you not live there all winter?
Not this winter I did.
Okay,
The other winters I did.
okay. You live there all winter?
I was, good share, I was in Florida.
Huh?
But for a good share of this winter, I was in Florida, but I lived there for 35 years, every winter.
All right, but now you don't.
Well,
So
this
you live in
winter,
Florida, and I don't blame you.
I was there in
Florida's nice,
December.
huh? Disney
I was
World and all
there in
that.
December when the path was open. That's the poor excuse, because I have people living in my house, my family, my mother's still living, she's 108, 103, she still lives there. And I have a caretaker, and I have family come up all winter long, they use the bike paths.
Well,
So it doesn't matter.
it's everybody's though, just so you know, it's everybody's.
I don't think anyone's debating that.
There.
Does Walter have anything he'd like to add? Or if you're all set, I'm sorry, I want to make sure that you, sorry, Lynn, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Walter's the only one that hasn't, well, I don't know if Jillian doesn't, I'm not sure is here,
I don't think she's, I
but if Walter wants a chance to,
don't think she knows all
right.
that.
Chairman Walker and members of the committee, first of all, thank you for taking the time to address this issue. It is an important one. My name is Walter Medwood. I've lived in Derby near the BB Spur for nearly 20 years. I estimate I have taken 7,500 walks, bikes, and skis in that time. I also estimate my mileage at over 10,000. I'm probably due for an oil change at this point. The spur means a lot to me, and I know it well. Vermont public policy regarding the creation of a rail trail on the spur was codified in 1997 with a ruling. That ruling was made possible when the concerns of abutters were addressed by Vermont AOT, declaring no motorized vehicles would be permitted, and any changes to the spur would require local government engagement and process. For my 20 years here, that is all I have known. No motorized access. And for some, it has been 30 years. Over that same period of time, a remarkable public-private partnership emerged between the state and Memphremagog Trails, a not-for-profit focused on cross-country and bike trails. The ski trail on the spur is groomed for skate and track skiers and other users such as walkers and snowshoers. Memphremagog Trails has done remarkable things over that period of time. It has brought and operated grooming equipment that fits the narrow trail that BB is. Volunteers erect snow fencing to preserve snow on the trail. Equipment is available to rent, children and adults if they want to ski on the trail. A community asset has been developed for young and old at no cost, and no tax dollars have been involved in maintaining the winter conditions on the trail. For this neck of the woods, this is an exceptional community gem. Seemingly overnight, that changed with the allowance of snowmobiles. no public announcement, no notifications of abutters, no community and local government engagement to discuss the change. The quality and the character of the ski trail has been compromised. Over 20 years of investment has been compromised. This isn't a vast trail. Vast operations and networks aren't affected. Vast is supporting its handful of members who seek access to the spur. But at what cost to the common good? At what cost to the public good? If snowmobile use is required by federal banking, we have been out of compliance for the last quarter of century. Would not the federal government have notified us that we are not in compliance? And everything, and I know that Jillian, who is ill and is not testifying, has researched this. And all of her research has determined that the state determines what uses may or not happen within the context of federal use. It is not federal requirement that snowmobiles be used according to the research that Jillian has done. And I'll wind up here. BB Spur is 2.7% of Vermont's rail trail mileage. BB Spur is less than 1% of vast trails in Orleans County. Let me repeat that. Less than 1% of snowmobile trails in Orleans County. BB Spur, on the other hand, represents nearly a quarter of the Memphremagog Trail network in this remarkable public-private partnership. BB Spur is a tiny island in a sea of snowmobile trails. Its value to the community cannot be overstated. And I think in the discussion today, we have lost the context. This is a dot in a sea of snowmobile trails. And in the maps, you did not see that there were snowmobile trails all over the lake. So in reality, the trail mileage is far and above 460 or 70 miles an hour. The context of how much snowmobile activity takes place versus how much is protected for quality skiing, both skate skiing and track skiing on this trail. The scale is just off the charts. Jack Young is a North Country High School graduate. He was a 2026 Olympian in cross-country skiing. He cut his skiing teeth on Memphremagog trails and BB Spur. In 2014, Ida Sargent, also a Memphremagog trail skier, was a 2014 Olympic cross-country skier. We have a treasure. It is a dot in a sea compared to snowmobiling. I asked you to protect it by passing H 894, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Walter. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Are we? Absolutely, Representative Page, you can speak in our committee anytime. I don't know if you want to join up there or speak from there.
Speak.
As long as you're allowed.
I won't be long. As you know, I presented to this committee some months ago regarding BB Spur, and I did receive a lot of questions from my friend here. And but I just want to make a few comments. One, the trail starts at Crowdy Drive near the hospital. It's an excellent place for people to get some exercise that's needed and prescribed by their primary care physicians. It's an easy trail to walk. There are very few, if any, places around the Newport area to walk and to ski. This is the only one. And you can go all the way up to the border if you mentioned. You can go all the way down to town in Newport without, without interfering or being, in the roadway or what else. It's a safe place for people to walk and ski. The vast trail system, they have their area and they have the ability to access the trail system from that area. I would also say that, pictures are nice. You've seen a great many pictures here. But seeing is believing, and I would recommend people come to Newport and look at that trail for themselves and make their determination. Final thing is, I believe there will be a meeting later on with AOT, and I hope we can resolve this this issue amicably, where everybody is satisfied from this. And I just want to say thank you, Representative Walker, and the committee for taking this testimony and being willing to listen to the issues involved. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Representative Page. I think that we're at the end, I guess. I have a couple things that I want to make sure to clarify or say. I appreciate what a beautiful area that it is, and I appreciate my annual trips up to Newport High School and to regularly get thumped by the basketball team there. And I appreciate how beautiful the lake is. And I'm sorry I haven't made that big event of the 120 pickup trucks and the hundreds of snowmobilers going 140 miles an hour. I have to say the parts that are and I think it's very interesting to find out about Olympic skiers that started on the BB Spur Trail. I also want to clarify that in 2021, we passed a law that said all of the rail trails in Vermont, and they will be managed by the Agency of Transportation. They will form the rail council, the rail division inside the agency, and Jackie Casino was hired to manage that eventually. It is the law that snowmobiles are allowed on all the trails, and we passed that in 2021. So it is the law. The agency is not implementing a random piece. It was instructed by the legislature and it was passed. So it is in the 2021 T-bill that said all rail trails are, snowmobiles are allowed. So although it certainly didn't roll out the way that people were, it sounds like in this particular testimony, it may not have been rolled out very well and people were not informed. I do want to make sure to clarify that the legislature passed a law in 2020 and it said snowmobiles were allowed on the BB Spur. It said on all 4 rail trails. That's what the law says in 2021. We made that pretty clear as a legislature. So that they are doing is the charge of the legislature, and you're doing what citizens would do, which is to try to change that law with the work with your representative. So that's sort of what would have to change, is whether or not we're going to make an exception to that law that we previously made in 2021. So that's really what it boils down to. Secondly, I have to also say that the comparison to the snowmobile trail to VAST, which is all run by an organization, the combination of private land, is not relevant to me at all. I appreciate what Walter's testimony about what they do for ski trails, and I appreciate what you have in your neighborhood and where you live, but it is a publicly owned and declared by law snowmobiles are available. It is not a separate trail. It is a publicly owned 4 miles, and it right now is dictated by a public law that says it's going to be open. So we will have to change it if that's what, if we want it to be an exception or we want it to be handled differently, that will have to go through and it'll have to pass here and pass the Senate. But and the vast lands are private combo, a whole different world. This is a public trail. So it whether it's 1% or 1/10 of 1%, it isn't relevant. It's a publicly owned property. We have to make a new law to govern that. And change it. And I want to make sure the committee is clear of that I appreciate that there are other options perhaps for snowmobilers, but it isn't relevant because that's the law that's available to everyone, as obviously has been pointed out multiple times by part of our committee. So that's our charge, and those are the clear parts of it. it is what we passed, and it is required to be open for snowmobiles until we change that law of 2021. So whether we go from here or not is going to be up to an effort, which would be this committee, the Senate committee, the T-bill, some piece with the agency feedback. They are not here today purposely on my discussion with them because we wanted to hear directly from you without the feeling of where they're at. I highly encourage, given how things run, that the BB Spur Council, that you be as actively involved in it to help shape the policy of where they're headed and where the spot is, especially given the time frame of whether how things will or won't change between now and the next winter or the winter after that, because that's your best available option to influence while working on changing the law or not changing the law.
I asked Jackie last fall, how can we change this? And she says, you have to write a law to change it. And it's simple as that. And that's why we, like, I'm saying page right there.
And that's the process. And, you know, it's where that's what brought us to this part
Yeah.
today. So I do appreciate that, but
What was the 2021 law made? What was the?
well, I would suspect that I'd have to go back and ask. I wasn't the chair then.
Oh, I thought you were there.
No, no, this is my first go around. That's the chair. But I know that there was a huge economic benefit to the management of the trails and the year-round management of them, and to bring consistency to the policy of the way they are run, and to really leverage and maximize that really amazing public good that we have in those trails. So the uniqueness of each trail may not have been known at the time, but the goal was to maximize the I'm missing the word that I'm looking for, but to maximize that asset and to bring uniformity to it. It is bringing worldwide. I can't believe I meet people from all over the world, Swanton being a start or end point for it. People are coming to run that trail from all over the world. It amazes me. There are businesses popping up all along it, and there's travel there from everywhere.
It existed before federal money. It was needed to be conditioned as the federal government said you had to.
No, I think my understanding is that the VAST had tried to run it, but it's such a significant, plus my understanding, we've heard testimony that snowmobilers don't want to jump on that one trail and drive it for 90 miles. They use that trail to get to their trail network. It's not like they don't jump on that trail to go 90 miles from one. Bicycles do, other, walking, running, and I think you'll see more events as we go forward. But my main understanding is that it's all about connecting. That people don't want to drive up and down the 4 mile Beacon Spur all day on a snowmobile. They're trying to get to somewhere, right? That's not, they don't drive up and down the Lamoille Valley as a snowmobile all day. That's not where they're trying to go. They're heavily used parts to get to a trail that they then get off. But my understanding is economic piece. So you have another question?
Well, I'm just gonna say, I appreciate what the state wanted to do with the trails, but I do think it was an oversight not to consider the character of the BB Spur, given its length and width separately, and that's part of why we're here.
I'm particularly struck by that fact today for some reason versus the other days, that a spur is a totally different animal. It was not meant as a main thoroughfare of heavy line. It was, I'm sure, meant to, well, I don't know what the connection in Canada was and what the businesses were, but it's generally about box cars or side storage. We have them all over the place, and perhaps not as used as much as some of our reps would like them to be and to have more rail trail. But Representative Pouch, you wanted to add?
Yeah, this has been helpful. I can certainly understand people who have come to use the trail and I think it's totally okay. You can have, trails that allow motorized snowmobiles or e-bikes or whatever you might have, and other trails not to. I ski on both. I ski on vast trails and I've not really had many problems, but I know I have to, and I also, where I typically ski, there's no snowmobile, which will ruin the trail itself in different ways. I would encourage to work with VTrans, and even though it's public, there's plenty of public bike trails and stuff that don't allow mechanized, ATVs aren't allowed on the Mile Valley Rail Trail. So there are exceptions. And I could see the desire by the people who have used it for a long time to go that way. But, I think the chair has sort of said, hey, that's the law. And so I think really working with V-Trans to see, how much they are willing to discuss moving, options around this spur.
I think that, I appreciate that. And I would add that as far as what the committee is going to do or not do is going to have to learn from the fact that perhaps there are exceptions for different people, but what will this precedent do if we go back and change that law, and what does it do to the other rail trails? So what other association, you're not an association, but what other citizens and group would love to perhaps shut down snowmobiling on one of the other trails? I would be concerned about that, but and I'm not going to guarantee what we are or aren't going to do today, but I wanted to be clear that for what Jackie's doing or what the agency is doing, they're doing what we told them to, and may not have done it well, or they may have had some bumpy starts, but they're certainly sincere. She is in terms of her effort to make all of the trails statewide, has had some very nice successes. So, but we have to figure out if we're going to change the law. So, Representative Burt?
I just think the difference is that, people have talked about sharing the trails that are wider. I think the issue is the narrowness of the trail, not necessarily sharing it with snowmobiles.
Perhaps that will be a big indicating factor as to why we could have a different law. Perhaps there are other pieces that we need to discover to help justify why it was different. But that was a big one for me today. But
Just
sorry, President Brown.
I was just gonna say, it's common practice when we have a pinch point on a road or a blind curve where we have a sign that lets people know, slow down or temporary. We just passed in our T-bill, actually, legislation a provision to authorize a temporary lowering of the speed limit for that purpose. So it seems like there are solutions that could be found.
Yeah, and I think, I know Vast does that on their trails. It doesn't look like Vast does anything with this trail other than, some access for.
Coming off the lake, and that's all they do. They don't even have to boom.
No,
Yes,
the
I wanna
access up and down just from a few landowners.
I want to be very clear on behalf of, I don't speak on behalf of VAST, but I have spoken to them. They do not take a position on, they want to cross the trail to get to the lake, to keep their existing trail network. They are not involved in the conversation related to what happens on the BB spur, and those people that are snowmobiling on it are not speaking for VAST in any way. They are not involved in this BB spur, what we do or don't do. If we do make, as we do or don't move forward, we'd be happy to hear from them, but they are not part of the driving factor one way or another. They may have members that live on there, but this is not a vast organization speaking for that. Yes, sir.
Does changing how BB spur is used, is that part of the law? Can it just be an exception to DOT if it says?
We made that 2021 law very specifically say that snowmobiling was allowed on all state rail managed rail trails. There are differences because like the Glover Trail in the state forest is not federally ranked, but that law in 2021 specifically names these 4 rail trails that are being managed underneath that piece. We will have to, I believe, from what I've been told, what I had discussion with the agency and with the ledge council is that Jackie is right. We're going to have to change the law if we're going to change this. Now, there could be some kind of, I don't know, temporary, there could be a lot of other options that would be discussed about how to manage it, but really to get what you're at is my understanding it's the law. Representative Burt?
Well, I'm just wondering about the difference between the wording of allowed or required.
We specific, I can go back and look at it, but it names the rail trails and it names snowmobiling. I would say that the intent from that bill is snowmobiling is allowed on Vermont rail trail. I'm not we have a lawyer, we can ask him, but we did dig into that.
I just wrote to Damien.
Yeah,
so
we can have him come.
But that
tell
is-
us exactly what the law says.
That is the understanding of what research that I've done. So,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you very much for making the trip and for the interaction.
Thank
Thank you. Representative Page, thank you very much. We are adjourned